Hello and welcome to coverage of the World Magic Cup here from Amsterdam. I'm Marshall Sutcliffe in the booth with Brian David Marshall, and we have a doozy here for you. Team Brazil versus Team Australia. Not only that, we're looking at the national champions from both, and we have a mirror match on our hand. This is not constructed. We're talking about M14 Team Sealed and nearly mono black here.
Sometimes sacrifices have to be made when you're doing Magic coverage.
You've been saving that one?
No, I wasn't. I never save these up. They're not worth saving.
That was right. Take a look at Willy Edel here, 34 years old, 206 career pro points, 4 Pro Tour top 8s, puts him in pretty elite company, certainly the most accomplished player sitting at our feature match area right now. All right, let's take a look at the action here. There's a Dragon Egg and a Festering Newt for Justin Chung. And a Dragon Egg staring down the other one for Willy Edel. Yeah, and hey, a Festering Newt as well. We've got identical board states here. How often do you see this?
Yeah, I mean, both players are playing black-red decks. Take a look. Take a look at what's going on here. You see Justin Chung, he's playing black-red, double active treason in his hand, and a very similar deck across the way. So,
all right, let's take a look at what Justin Chung wants to play here. Yeah. Is it a Blood Baron?
He's drawn a Blood Baron.
Yeah.
That's going to be fantastic for him, because we see, again, his hand, Pitchburn Devils, great with Blood Baron, double active treason, also great with Blood Baron.
Dragon's Egg,
yeah,
great with Blood Baron.
Yeah, he draws a mountain next turn. Things get filthy. Active treason, that Dragon's Egg.
Yes, not every day you active treason a defender, but when it makes you a lovely little mini dragon, certainly something you would want to do.
I think Willy Edel.
Does he have his own Blood Baron?
Own Blood Baron.
What is going on here?
As I said, sacrifices will be made because that's what these guys are playing. They're playing the black-red sacrifice deck.
All right, attacks with Send Gear Vampire to kick things off. And there's no blocks from Justin. So he's going to drop down to 16.
So kind of interesting because Willy's got 2 Liturgy and Bloods, and he could have, maybe tried to get rid of that Blood Baron first, because now we're going to see that Justin can steal that Blood Baron and get rid of it. I mean, it's such a central card. You need to make it go away.
That's right. And
that's what we're going to see happen here. So active treason on Blood Baron. Blood Baron will get sacrificed. Does Blood Baron...
no, it's another creature.
That's another creature.
Yeah, it's a little different than the old Nantuko Husk type
So he could
design.
have actually Liturgy of Blooded the Blood Baron and played Blood Baron.
Yes,
that turn.
He could have. That's interesting.
Perhaps just that conditioning to thinking of, Nantuko Husk, which could sacrifice itself and therefore counter the Liturgy of Blood, which is where my brain automatically went. Maybe that's what's at work here.
It could be. All right,
Willy is thinking about sacrificing that Dragon's Egg and upgrading.
Right now, that active treason is on the stack targeting the Blood Baron. So he's going to sacrifice the Dragon Egg, and that's going to make it 2-2. It's a 2/2 flying dragon with fire breathing. He can pay a red mana to give it +1/+0 until end of turn, and their active treason has resolved.
And then we're going to see Justin play another mountain, I believe, here.
Justin has the team coach sitting directly to his right-hand side.
Team coach is Riley Knight, someone you had a chance to talk to earlier today.
I do. Really nice guy. Said he's only been playing limited about a year.
Wow, very impressive.
Really, really happy to be here. And there's a second act of treason, and Willy Edel just lets out a sigh and
looks
says,
at his liturgies
sure.
of blood and goes, ugh.
Maybe I should have taken out that blood bear when I had the chance. All right, so attacks are being lined up here for Justin.
Block the 4/4.
All right.
Oh, that's right. His Blood Baron is a 4/4 because he sacrificed the dragon egg to it.
Mm-hmm.
Before damage. Yeah.
Before damage says, I'm going to sacrifice my dragon egg here.
To the target. Free advertisement. And
Take out your Festering Newt with my Festering Newt trigger. And there's really nothing to be done with the Festering Newt for Justin Chung, so it's just going to target the dragon because why not?
There we see the tokens.
And there's going to need to be some sacrifices made here, as you mentioned before, BDM. He doesn't want to let these creatures come back to Willy Edel's side. And what a huge game-swinging play there for Justin Chung.
But you know what? The board ended up being pretty equitable at the end of it. But and now you see an active treason for.
Nothing like it. Willy Edel draws his active treason right now. No longer has a sacrifice outlet, though.
Wow. Allison Abe has, in the middle seat for Brazil, has jumped out to a 1-game lead over Matt Anderson very quickly.
Wow. All right, so let's take a look at what Willy Edel has planned. A Liturgy of Blood of some manner here is likely. He's going to do this so that he can actually play an act of treason if he wants. All right, Liturgy of Blood, and it's going to get sacrificed to the Blood Baron. And now that's going to leave 1 mana up here so that the dragon can get bumped and attack Justin. And like you said earlier, BDM, you know, even though that was a huge sequence of plays for Justin Chung, I mean, he did get to take out some important creatures from Willy Edel. Ultimately, it kind of just left him at parity. And right now, Willy Edel's looking to be in a pretty good position with his Fire Breather. Now, Justin Chung has a nice hand here, though. Pitchburn Devils. He's also got a Sengir Vampire
and a Nightmare.
More old school bombs
I
here.
love all these old cards. They're taking me back.
Yeah. All right, attack for 2, drop Willy Edel down to 9. And Nightmare. It's a 4/4 with flying here. Unfortunately, it's not a 5/5, as Willy Edel can pump his dragon up to 4 power.
I think we might, we could see we're close to him being able to active treason that. And
yeah, even on Willy's side of the board, Nightmare's quite big. Also a 4/4.
But I think we're just going to see Nightmare get Liturgy of Blooded.
Yeah, I think so too. There it is, Liturgy of Blood, target Nightmare.
Yeah, he's like, counter it by sacrificing it to Blood Baron, take 3.
And this is how this is going to go. You know, I mean, this matchup is heavy black with a little bit of red on both sides.
Yeah.
They're going to have removal spells. I mean, it's going to be who has the last threat standing right now. Willy Edel's making that claim.
Except Justin Chung has like a 7 damage swing that he gets to do with the Pitchburn Devils. The turn he plays it, he can pump his guy and get an extra 5 points out of it. Bonus to the Blood Baron and 3 points from the Pitchburn Devils ability.
Yeah, that's going to change the race significantly here. Also, the Pitchburn Devils can go to the face, or it can take out the dragon.
Right.
But for now, Sengir Vampire is going to threaten a lethal attack on the other side if he were to play any creature. Also, cards like another Act of Treason, that kind of thing. So Willy Edel's...
Looks like there's a Quag Sickness in his hand.
In Willy's hand?
Yeah. He's got Quag Sickness and Active Treason.
Interesting.
So he's going to Quag Sickness.
And again, everything getting eaten up here now. Does Willy have an attack here? He can attack for 5 here. That's a 2-turn clock on Justin, but he's got to be worried about another Act of Treason. Does Willy have a follow-up play that he can make other than just pumping here? I guess not. He's just going to move in.
He's just dead. And he's dead seven points with the Pitchburn doubles.
Yep, he is. Now there's a ring flush opportunity here for Willy.
Sure.
It's just he doesn't have it. So
we know.
Yeah, we
right,
happen to
but
know
the
that,
threat of it.
Yeah, it is, because Justin will die the next turn. Though that's probably just an incentive for him to go for it.
But he has to do something, otherwise he dies next turn.
Yep, that's right. So no playing around here. It's just going to be Pitchburn Devil, sacrifice it, do 3 to you.
Or he could play it safe. And
7-5.
Chung is 5.
Justin Chung's at 5 life here. So
we have it at 2. But
yeah.
Yeah, he's like, no, I'm going to kill you. Oh, yeah, he does kill the Dragon Whelp.
Yep. Why don't you kill me?
That's interesting. I'm not sure why he didn't just finish him off there.
He said, why didn't you kill me? And I believe Justin Chung said ring flesh.
Okay, so he was worried about it then. Okay.
Right, and he still doesn't know that Willy's not holding it, because Willy could be saying, why didn't you kill me? Like, why didn't you play into my ring flesh?
Absolutely. And if Willy does have ring flush there, then that's it. Justin Chung would just lose. Now he does give Willy a draw step. There's certainly some risk to that play. I mean, you do get the opportunity. You get the upside of playing around a specific spell that can make you lose the game. That's always good. So what's the downside? The downside is now Willy gets a draw step and an untap, and he's got 2 cards and a bunch of mana, and maybe he can equalize here.
Right, place his own Pitchburn Devils, and he's going to active treason.
Again, these sacrifice outlets hanging around on the table are so huge they blank your opponent's active treasons on other stuff. So is this a creature here for Justin Chung? It is a festering newt. So that still would be lethal.
Yeah.
And Willy shows him that he did not, in fact, have the ring flesh there.
That whole game seemed to me pivoted on not using Liturgy of Blood to play his Blood Baron.
Yeah, and take out the other one.
Yeah.
I mean, that sacrifice outlet was huge.
But again, I wonder if the change in the templating.
Yeah. Ultra Pro is a leading manufacturer of trading card game sleeves and deck boxes. If you're looking for official Magic 2014 portfolios, card storage boxes, deck boxes, sleeves, and playmats, Ultra Pro has you covered. For more information, visit wizards.com/magic merchandise. Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, I think that really highlighted, again, it's interesting that we have a mirror match, right? That doesn't happen every time, especially these decks are so similar with nearly mono black with a little bit of red for the active treason synergies and then some removal. But, the thing that I'm really focusing on is how important it was to have a sack outlet on the table.
Absolutely. I mean, the active treason's fine, but generally is like going to be in a much more aggressive, cheap creature tempo deck.
Right.
Where this is a little bit more of almost like a combo deck and almost more of a combo control deck where you're, taking their creatures and killing them and doing stuff. It looks like we are looking at another match here now. I see some blue-white and some green-red. I don't know who we're looking at. I'm going to assume that this is Carlos Davy, Montenegro, and Sasha Markovic.
I'll buy that, sure. Okay, nice grip here. Banisher Priest, Sensory Deprivation, Pacifism, and a second Claustrophobia. There's already one on the battlefield locking down a Blur Sliver. And it looks like Banisher Priest is going to hit the table here.
The reason I know that is because Allison Abe won his match by domesticating an Ogre Battle Driver.
Ah, okay. Ooh, geez, really?
Yes.
Ugh. That's not very nice. All right. Allison Abe is down to 6 here.
Montenegro, who's on your left, is up 1 game in this. Oh, wait, no.
This is Allison Abe. Yeah,
this is Allison. Oh.
But we get an update about that other game, too.
Okay.
We'll get that for you in just a second. Matthew Anderson on the right-hand side from Australia has a reasonable board state, and it just got real scary real quick. Colonian Hydra, one of the premier rares. And it looks like
you see some enchanting going on.
Yeah, a lot of enchanting. That Pacifism.
Sensory Deprivation on the Deadly Recluse, and Claustrophobia on the Colonian Hydra, And does he still have a pacifism in hand too?
He does. He absolutely still has that pacifism. He wanted to get the claustrophobia out of his hand. It's a little more expensive, a little bit tougher to cast. Has a really similar role to pacifism though. And a couple of mana producers now are on the beatdown path. We might see one of these. Oh, was that an Athalia Sea Kite? Oh, what a great draw for Allison Abe. He's going to get to have a little elf for lunch here.
You heard the little.
Yeah.
Like, oh no, I drew a swamp.
But a good draw for Matthew Anderson here too, though. I must have missed something on the board there.
It was Predator Sliver, so the mana weft sliver was 2. Maybe he wasn't at 4 there.
He might not have been at 4, yeah. Because he would have been able to eat that sliver. So it looks like Team Australia takes that game down on our middle table.
There you get a look at Allison Abe facing us.
We'd like to thank Card House Games for being an official card retailer here at Worlds Week. Enter the code AMS10 when ordering at cardhousegames.com for 10% off your next purchase. For more information, visit cardhouse.com.
I think we're going to go back to the Willy Edel match.
I like it.
Willy Edel and Justin Chung.
This has been this has been a really interesting one just because of the nature of the matchup. It's so rare to see such close decks trying to do the same thing against each other in limited.
One of the things that's different about Team Sealed, you're rarely ever going to see this in Booster Draft, right? Like if you were able to get such a dedicated Black-Red Sacrifice deck in Booster Draft, well, that means you have a monopoly on those cards.
Right.
And you're not going to see someone else at the table having that deck.
Yeah, you know, I think that's one of the things that's fascinating about Team Sealed. So if you look at Booster Draft, you will see defined archetypes that will appear for Booster Draft, right? People will be like, I'm the red-white deck, I'm the control deck, and people will come up with these different decks, and you'll see them pop up pretty consistently during the course of a draft. If you go to regular individual Sealed, the shift becomes a lot more pressure on outright value of your cards, finishing power, removal, things like that. The deck kind of has to stand alone. It's not as much of an archetype game. It can be. I mean, there's definitely threads of that, but for the most part, it's kind of like, how good of cards did I get? When we go to Team Sealed, it switches back to that draft-like feel where we're seeing similar decks pop up over and over and over. When we were walking the tables, like half the teams had a mono black deck.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. The mechanics of the set really start to shine through.
They really do.
So here we see Justin Chung. He just mulliganed. It looks like
Willy, why didn't you just kill me, Edel there?
And he's like, I don't know. Why didn't you kill my Blood Baron?
Yeah. All right, Willy Edel's led things off a little bit unorthodox here. No plays early. Let's see if he's got that 3-drop. No, nothing. So just nothing from Willy Edel here on the first 3 turns of the game. And a couple of sack outlets here for Justin Chung on turns 2 and turns 3 now. He's got a Doomblade in his deck, in his hand.
That seems.
It's a little suspect.
That seems mulligan-y.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if he's seen any huge bombs or anything on Willy's side. We know he saw the Dragon Egg and its subsequent.
There we get a little bit of look at Justin Chung's history before seeing a Blood Baron. But take a look at Justin, 31 years old, 65 career pro points. Nice record on the Pro Tour. Little under 60%. 60% at the Grand Prix.
That's
with
solid.
3 top 8s too.
Yeah.
So
that's
active treason,
resume.
steal your Blood Baron, sack it to my Blood Baron. Second verse, same as the first.
Yep. See a Liturgy of Blood, a Corrupt, a Dragon Egg.
There you go. Get a look at the cards in his hand.
Yeah, there we go. And a Nightwing Shade is going to hit the table here as just
with
a 2/2 with flying.
With 4 mountains, also not really the most exciting.
Nope, and there's a Dragon Eggs there, Dragon's Egg for Justin Chung. He's going to attack with this 2/2 Blood Baron, but that egg is not long for this world. And there it goes. Putting up a 2/2 flying with fire breathing for Justin. Also dealing 4 damage to Willy Edel.
Take a look at...
Wow, he draws a Quag Sickness here.
Take a look at what Justin's working with.
A second 9 zombie, Pitchburn, and a Doomblade. Okay. Pitchburn's going to be really good here. All right, Dragon Egg for Willy Edel.
Dragon Egg.
Yeah, but there's... Yeah, this is interesting. He's just... Willy's just drawn very poorly with his lands. I mean, I can take a look. He's running 11 swamps and 6 mountains, and he's got, what, 4 mountains on the battlefield?
66% of those mountains.
Yeah, and, you know, he's got a Quag Sickness in his hand already, which is just giving him -1/-1 right now. Plus Liturgy of Blood, he can't even cast it yet. So Sengir Vampire off the top for Justin Chung. You can see on our cards in hand viewer there is a really nice one. Willy cashes in his Dragon Egg just as chump block.
And Justin's now, his Doomblade is now live.
It is indeed. Unfortunately for Willy, he's drawn another double black mana cost spell. He's got 3 of them in his hand, and the other one really requires more. Now, would you consider playing that Quag Sickness though?
I would definitely. I think I would have gotten that Quag Sickness even on the Blood Baron, and then when I draw a second swamp, it just dies.
Yeah. Yeah. This way though, he
you don't
does
get to
leave
respond to a land getting played either. So
no, but this way he does get to leave up a pump on the Nightwing Shade, I suppose.
Sure. Well, I might have done it, a little sooner.
Wow. Active Treason targeting Willy Edel's only creature on the battlefield as he just stares at a handful of corrupts, Liturgy of Blood, Quag Sickness, just a whole bunch of stuff that he either can't cast or is just not effective, and everybody's entering the red zone here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
Yeah, I was like, he keeps a red up, but can pump the Dragon Hatchling as well as the...
Yeah, so Willy Edel sacrifices his opponent's creature for him and then shakes his head.
He shows him, you can upgrade this 1 damage over here to 2 damage over here, which would go from 9 to 10.
Yes. But Willy did have a full grip and a whole bunch of cards, so Justin didn't see the reason to take the risk there. So Justin Chung defeats Willy Edel on our main table there to give Australia a match advantage.
Yeah, and we learned something valuable, that we can always bluff Justin Chung that we have ring flesh.
Yes. If we get him in a side draft, we'll know. Qualifiers for the next Pro Tour begin August 17th, and the format is Sealed Deck. You could be on the big stage for Pro Tour Born of the Gods, taking place February 21st to 23rd in Valencia, Spain. For more information, visit wizards.com/PTQ.
Here we see the players discussing how that played out while the cameramen reposition themselves to bring us another match. I tell you, the camera crew at this event has been fantastic.
Yeah, they really have. Come up with some sweet new angles over at the news desk. I really like that.
Yeah, no, those guys are great. They're really working hard there.
Yep. The whole team always looking to improve coverage. 1 step at a time.
Here we see blue, white.
I like that hand.
Hand of Allison Abe, yeah. I mean, yeah.
Pacifism, Banisher Priest, Clone.
Clone and a Messenger Drake, right?
Yeah, there's also a Messenger Drake and a Sensory Deprivation. I like Clone Banisher Priest. That's fun. Do it again.
You know that card I didn't get last time? I'm getting it.
Yeah.
And just this is there's a Garrick in play, and we've just revealed cards.
Oh wow! What a huge rip! He just drew 4 off of Garrick, and I think I saw Clonian Hydra in there too. Now, that wouldn't be a bad thing to clone and then pacify the other one, right?
No, that would be pretty sweet.
We might be interested in that. Look at
But
that hand.
it was Forest, Garrett, Caller of Beats at the start of the turn.
Yeah, Garrick's Horde, Elvish Mystic, Manawef Sliver, Colonian Hydra. So the long game looks good for Matthew Anderson, but Allison Abe does have a lot of removal spells. And he's just going to put up some pressure here
And
to
there
start
you see
things
Garrett,
off.
Caller of Beasts.
Yeah, wow. What a haymaker deck for Matthew Anderson. Garrick, Colonian Hydra, and Garrick's Horde. Those are some bombs. He might just activate Garrett, Caller of Beast to put the Horde into play here. Garrick's at 5, though that would also open it up to dying to the Phantom Warrior, so he might not want to take that risk. No, he did. That's exactly what he did.
Oh, wow.
So he just gets essentially a free 7 mana here. What a huge advantage.
Yeah, and there's a Blur Sliver on top.
Okay. So he
It
can
looks
cast
like.
it if he wants off the top of his deck. And he did exactly that. That reveals, wow, geez, his deck is really well positioned to Windstorm.
And plays a Manawef Sliver.
And the elf is stranded in his hand currently, but he's got one on the battlefield too. So Garrick doing some work, though he has opened Garrick up to dying here, it seems. Does he have a way to kill or otherwise mitigate the damage from that thing, or does he just not even care anymore?
Oh, wait, he taps those for mana.
Right.
And he Chandra's
Of course
outrages
he
the Phantom
does.
Warrior.
The Manawef Sliver gets haste thanks to the Blur Sliver. The Blur Sliver has haste and can make mana thanks to the Manawef Sliver. And Garrick is safe and sound.
That is about as huge a turn as I've seen in Team Seal.
He got so much mana. I want to know how much mana he spent that turn. I mean, it was 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. I think it was 17 mana that he spent that turn. I mean, through one way or another. Wow, what an incredible turn.
It looks like it was 16 mana.
Okay.
Right?
Unbelievable.
7 mana for the 7 free mana
Yeah.
for the Garrick, 4 mana for the Chandra's
That's 11.
outrage, and then 5 mana for the 2 slivers.
Okay. Because that other elf was already on the table.
Yeah.
Okay. So they're deciding what they want to do here. Now this is going to be some haymakers back and forth because that was obviously a huge turn for Matthew Anderson. Really one of the biggest turns I've seen in this format so far,
So this
if not.
is
But Allison
the
Abe
hand
has...
that Allison Abe is trying to
I see.
puzzle
He
out.
doesn't have the second white here for his Banisher Priest. So he's got Pacifism. He can lock down Garrick's Horde. He can play Claustrophobia on it if he wants. He doesn't have access to clone mana. It looks like he's going to go for Pacifism and also Sensory Deprivation on the Blur Sliver. So he's mitigated the threats nicely, but Garrick is sitting there. Did he attack?
He did attack.
But he didn't hit Garrick? Huh. All right, well, there's a Windstorm.
Which Allison Abe is aware of. Because it was on top of the deck.
Thanks to being revealed from Garrick's Horde.
Right.
Yeah.
What creature's on top of the deck with Garrick's Horde?
That looks like a Battle Sliver. Pretty sweet here. It has haste.
Right.
It makes mana. It's also just huge. Oh, wow. And he reveals another Battle Sliver off the top. I mean, excuse me, a Blur Sliver off the top. Oh, jeez, this is just getting out of control on Matt. I mean, I need to remind you here, he's got a Colonian Hydra in his hand. He's just not even bothering
I'm not
with it.
even going to play. And now he, oh.
All right, it looks like he's almost fully bricked here, but he does hit another Manawef Sliver here. But this board state has gotten completely out of control. That's 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. That's already 12 right there damage, and they all have haste? Sure, hit you for 12.
8, 36. Yep.
Jeez, Allison Abe takes 12, drops down to 6, and even though he's got a sweet hand, I don't think he can deploy enough threats quick enough, as Matthew Anderson has completely dominated this game.
And this will be the last match we look at, because Carlos Montenegro has defeated Sasha Markovic on the other table to tie the teams up at 1 match apiece.
Wow, so teams tied, players tied, and this could just be it for Team Australia. They could take down really a tough Brazilian team here.
Right, Matthew Anderson showing off the disgusting strategy of opening a planeswalker.
And also having really a lot of powerful slivers here.
Yeah, Banisher Priest takes down the...
Fortunately, that's all he can do. There's a Spore Mound sitting on top of Matthew Anderson's deck. Not really relevant here. Now, another card's going to be revealed. Okay, that's not castable at the moment, but Fire Shrieker.
Yeah, but he gets to activate Garrick again if he wants and rip through 5 new cards.
Yeah. He's got a Mana Weft Sliver as well. That'll have haste, so he can pile in for quite a bit of damage here. Nah, I guess he can't. Seacoast Drake is going to keep things, all the 1 toughness guys locked down pretty nicely. So he needs to find a way to get rid of one of these 2 creatures, get them out of the way. So he's going to start with a Garrick activation that's going to reveal, geez, no lands, just a whole bunch of awesome stuff. But it turns out it's a couple of Predator slivers, or Predatory slivers, and can you see what that other card is?
Is that an Ogre Battle Driver?
I think it might be. I didn't want to say it because things are already ugly enough. But if now he's going to get to play 2 Predatory slivers.
So he plays Ogre Battle Driver. Oh my God.
Jeez. He uses his Blur Sliver to tap for mana.
It's worth noting that, you know, Allison Abe's at 6 and could die by 50.
No kidding. This is just one of the biggest thumpings I've seen in a while. Plays both of them. They both trigger. They both pump everything. And even a Mana Weft Sliver too. Allison Abe says, sure, and all of them come into the red zone as Australia defeats
as Matt Anderson
Team Brazil
gives himself
here.
A round of applause.
You see the smile on Allison Abe's face. He's like, geez, man.
I had no lands in the first hand, 1 land in the second, with like 2 Monolith slivers. I was like, oh.
You see a semi-disgusted look there from Matthew, but you know what? That was insane. He was able to do so much on those few turns that we watched.
That's one of the first times I've really seen Garrett Caller of Beasts do everything it's supposed to do.
Yeah.
Right? You talked about that mana advantage it gave him. You know, combined with the synergy of slivers.
Yeah, especially the Blur Sliver, because drawing 5, playing 2 cards, and having them all pile in on that turn, wow, those turns were insane. I mean, if you showed me Allison Abe's hand at the beginning, which we did get to see, it was really, really good. Now, he had mana issues, wasn't able to deploy all the cards, but I would have said, oh, that's a great hand. And then you go to the other side, and it's just dumping creatures.
Right. At the start of that, like, the first turn before all of that disgustingness happened, his hand was land, Garrick.
Insane.
Right? He had 1 or 2 things on the board, but his hand was land,
mana producers.
A couple of mana producers, yeah. So, like, he accelerated into the Garrick, but he really didn't have anything.
Yeah.
And then he just flipped, I think, 4 or 5 cards off the first Garrick activation, and then just went to town. And the Ogre Battle Driver, that was disgusting.
I mean, just for that. I mean, and I have to say this again. He got to still had all these, a Colonian Hydra, like one of the best bombs in the format.
Never
and he's
felt
just
like I have the time to play this.
Yeah, we don't need this guy. We'll just play all these slivers. They've all got haste. They're all attacking, and he was able to use up really, I mean, ultimately what we witnessed there was him drawing a lot of cards. That was really important, but he had a lot of cards to start. The real thing that happened there was he got so far ahead on mana, right?
Yeah.
I mean, he was able to spend massive quantities of mana on his turn, and his opponent was playing 2 to 3 mana. You know, he was like, okay, I will commit 2 to 3 mana to the game this turn. Right. And when you say 13 mana, 12 mana. You know, you're just, it doesn't matter what you're spending on at that point. You're going to win.
We saw him use 17 mana worth of spells the turn after he activated the Garruk. Next turn, he's like, put this 7-drop into play for free.
Unbelievable.
And then proceed to just cascade slivers off the top of my deck.
Yeah, his deck looked really, really powerful. I have not seen that deck go off in that way yet. That was kind of a pleasure.
Yeah, that was phenomenal.
Yeah. Now, normally I'd like to be on the other side of that coin. I kind of want to have the blue and the white cards,
Yeah.
but I'm a little jealous on that one. I wouldn't have mind sitting there with the Garruk in play.
Well, I think anytime, you know, you have an opportunity to, like, look at the top 5 cards of your deck and put all those creatures into your hand, you know, that's going to be the kind of value you love.
Yeah, I do love that. I mean, and we did see multiple Garruk activations. He drew 4 cards, he drew 1, and then he drew 3.
And he Dark Ritualed for 7.
Yes, he did, for the full 7.
7 mana to play Garruk's Horde.
Yeah, it's kind of nice getting that preview, too. We get to think, all right, we're going to have a little interview here, or are we going to go over to the news desk? All right, we're going to go over to the news desk here. It looks like the players are getting their picture taken and doing that kind of thing with our Pro Tour photographer, Craig Gibson. But for now, we're going to send you back to the news desk where Rich Hagan awaits.
I'm waiting with bated breath to tell you about some of the scores coming here in round 3 of the World Championships. They're just phenomenal. The World Magic Cup has been an awesome morning already. 3 rounds of M14, and here are some of the top tables. Now, there's been this kind of South America little round robin going on. We began with Colombia beating Uruguay in round 1. They then faced El Salvador in round 2. El Salvador won that one, and then at table 1, El Salvador went on to play Mexico. Well, it is the Mexicans who come out of that with the win. So 3-0 for them, and that puts them in fantastic shape for day 2. Remember, we think 4-3, particularly if you get that 4th win early, is really good for you. 71 teams come in, 32 advance. 4-3 obviously better than average, if you will. Half 3-4, half 4-3 or better, and so on. So you have to think that 4-0 will pretty much seal the deal. So well done to Mexico. You've just seen Australia defeat Brazil in pretty smart fashion. Croatia and Ireland, they're still playing. That's Gerga Petric, Maritic and co. The Irish national champion is Marcin Szynski. They're still playing, as I say. Another team that is through to 3-0, and that is Venezuela. Daniel Fior, congratulations to them. They're all in matching outfits, and they have taken down Hungary. Gabor Coxis, multi-time player for Hungary, also their national champion, Thomas Nag. Back again, but Hungary fall to 2-1. Venezuela advance to 3-0. Good news for the United States. These guys, Jason Gulovic, Daniel Caccieri, Joe Spanier, not everyone held out a great deal of hope for them. I've got to be honest, I didn't think this was a USA year. Well, right now, it could be a USA year. It could be a Josh Utter-Leighton year. He's Player of the Year. He's in the World Championship semi-finals, and he leads this US team that is now 3-0. On this occasion, at the expense of Walker McMurdo, Jason Chung for New Zealand. Chile have defeated Singapore. They go to 3-0. Norway and the Czech Republic still playing. No, just coming in now. The Czech Republic have defeated Norway. That's Stanislav Sivka. He was in the World Championship earlier this week, but now he tries to lead his Czech Republic team. Really inexperienced apart from Sivka, but they are doing very nicely, thank you, as they advance. Chinese Taipei have defeated England. And remember, Chinese Taipei began with a draw in that little local clash against China. China against Chinese Taipei. So your defending champions are 2 wins, no losses, and a draw as they head into Team Unified Standard. A little bit further down the standings, what about the Belgians? Well, they've won to go into 2-1 over the Philippines. The big 2 for the Belgians, undoubtedly Vincent Lemoine, the champion, and Moraine Leibert with his 4 years worth of Pro Tour top 8s, part of the European Grand Prix coverage team. Well done to him. South Africa are 2-1, this time at the expense of Daniel Antonio Cyprus. I can tell you that Bolivia are off the mark with a win over Portugal. And if you go to 0-3, I'm sorry, Portugal fans, you're in deep, deep trouble. You have to win your next 4 rounds to get to 4-3. And then you just have to hope that the field tightens up and that your tie breaks, getting to 4 wins in the last round of the day, might be enough to squeeze you in 32nd place, because only the top 32, remember, advance. And seeding so important. Tomorrow, it's worth entire rounds in terms of tie breaks. Also, down the bottom, finally, Japan are off the mark. They have defeated Northern Ireland in a clean sweep. Israel, they're off the mark. We thought they'd do terrifically. Shahar Shenhar, the 19-year-old wunderkind, as it were, he is back, trying to win the World Championship on Sunday. Right now, he's trying to get Israel into day 2 of the World Magic Cup. And finally, to bring you Malaysia over Wales. So Wales 0-3. Sorry to the boys in Cardiff and co watching along. They're doing the best they can, but right now they're 0-3. Hopefully better fortunes for them in constructed. All right, that's where we are, heading towards the back end of round 3. I'm delighted to say I've been joined at the news desk by one of Australia's finest players. It is their reigning national champion. It is a man who has led the team to 3-0 this morning. And congratulations to you, Justin Chung of Australia. What a great morning's work.
Thanks very much.
Yeah, you must be absolutely thrilled, because however you draw it up, 3-0 is really tough to do. Tell us about the morning.
So this morning we all met up and with the New Zealanders, and we're staying with the Latvians as well.
Okay.
And we walked over with the New Zealanders, we took the tram and got here nice and early and just relaxed ourselves, ready for the seal.
Tell us about the seal pool. How did you end up dividing the 5 colours? Because 5 into 3 doesn't go terribly easily. So what did you end up with as decks?
Well, we had Corrupt and Night Nest. They sort of indicated a mono black deck, and the green was a very obvious colour to have because it had the Garrick and the Colonial Hydra, so they were 2 of our strongest cards. We filled that out with some red removal, and the blue and the white sort of went together. It was kind of card draw and removal and fires.
Now I was going to say, tell me about blue-white, because I don't know how many practice pools you were able to do together, but it seems to us, in talking with Ben Stark, blue-white seems very schizophrenic. There are 2 good decks, one of which seems to be your Tempo and your Cheap Flies, your Trained Condors, Warden of Evos, I'll say, backed up with white removal and so on. Then there is this hardcore blue-white control deck with all the counters and maybe a Congregate here and there and so on. And then sometimes there are teams trying to fiddle their way to a blue-white deck with half and half, and that can go terribly wrong.
Yeah, interesting you point that out, because Sasha, who was doing the blue-white deck...
This is Sasha Markovic?
Yes, yes. We started off with the blue-white good stuff deck, and then he saw in his sideboard there was potential for an aggro deck, like 3 Suntail Hawks, Frost Breaths, Fortifies.
And that's the thing, you see, because it sounds a little scary, because you say, yeah, all the good stuff, and then I could play 3 Suntail Hawk and a Fortify, and you have to be pretty brave to go down that path. Did you go down that path?
We sleeved it up, but we stuck with the good stuff deck. But I mean, these
good call.
I mean, with 12 packs, you can lead to some pretty synergistic decks, and you should be open to those sorts of possibilities.
Okay, what did you think? Did you think there was a kind of default set of 3 that you expected to face through the day, just taken across? If you played everyone, what would the most common configuration be?
Similar to ours, mono black or black splash red, like my deck, with the sacrifice theme, or splash white perhaps. And then red green go well together, maybe with a sliver theme. Yeah, and the blue-white cards lend themselves to control. So I thought that was a pretty typical setup, and our pool lent itself to that. So. Okay, so
first of all, tell us a little bit about you. So 57% win rate on the Pro Tour is pretty solid over a bunch of games. I mean, you're well over 100 Pro Tour matches now, and that's a big achievement, because from where you are, Australia's a pretty long way from quite a lot of places. So you can't naturally travel to everything and all the Grand Prix.
Yeah.
So that's a hell of a career you're putting together there.
Yeah, I just play, and if I manage to go to the Pro Tour, good. If I don't, I mean, I'm not a professional player. I have a full-time job. But, it's taken me to a lot of places. I've done a lot of travelling. All my colleagues are jealous every time they hear I'm coming over to play Magic.
I'm sure, absolutely. And will they be watching back in the office? Will it be on in a corner of a monitor somewhere?
It's funny. Yeah, my manager did ask if there was any website she could look at, and I plugged the mtg.com site. So
well, here he is right now, and they're 3-0, and they're doing your country proud. That is for sure. You've played almost 4,000 sanctioned matches, which, by the way, is a lot of Magic. Why do you love the game so much?
Well, when I do a hobby, I like to focus on it. Like, rather than do a little bit of each, I'm the type of person who likes to concentrate on one. So I suppose that could and I've stuck at it for quite a while. So when you focus on one thing, it leads to a lot of matches.
You've played on teams before. It's very different to individual. And in particular, you had an incredible run at Memphis in 2008 where you got all the way to the final.
Yeah.
What are just pick out some highlights from your Memphis experience, what is now 5 years ago?
Well, yeah, Australia was kind of unheralded, and it was really nice to have a deep run, put ourselves on the map. You're stretching my memory back those 5 years. I remember it was really nice because the team, there was someone from Perth, and I had a friend from Sydney. It was just nice to join together, like people you don't know that well.
It was a true sort of cross-Australia team rather than a little sort of Adelaide enclave or anything?
Yeah. Yeah, it was really nice to put that together.
Well, that brings us very neatly to this team. Tell us what you can, and I'm sure you don't know all their career stats. Turns out I'm the one for that. But tell us a little bit about Matthew Anderson, Sasha Markovic, and Riley Knight. Let's start with Matthew.
So Matthew is a player from Sydney, and he loves to play all the extreme decks. So the most control, the most. So
he'd be your Tone Scour Millstone guy, right?
He would be that one.
Okay.
Yeah. He loves to push things to the boundaries. And Sasha is our deck builder mostly for this. So that's his skill that he brings. And he's been doing pretty well for himself. He's won a few PDQs recently. So
yeah, I mean they've both got into double figures on pro points, which is really tough to do. As I say again, especially geographically, you're not going to get to as many as a lot of people around Europe who can just go. I live in Belgium, so I'll go to France and Germany and the Netherlands and Luxembourg and so on. So getting into double figures is a really big deal. And then Riley Knight, who I met just a couple of weeks ago, coming to completely randomly apparently at a pre-release in England on his way to Rimini, where we all kind of hooked up at the GP. Tell me a bit about his story.
Yeah, he's only started playing last year, so he's done fantastically for himself. He's has a really positive learning attitude, which has been really great. And yeah, he took this trip as a great opportunity to get a free flight over Europe and spend some time traveling, which is why you saw him in England. And
yeah, and I love the fact that we were all standing on Monday morning of this week at Rimini train station. I'm thinking, okay, so we're off to Bologna, and then we're all off to Amsterdam. And you and Dominic Lowe were like, no, we're off to Paris.
Yes.
And I'm like, you do understand that the World Magic Cup's in Amsterdam, that's a different country. Oh yeah, we just want to see Paris.
Yeah, I had to squeeze that in. It was amazing. It's a truly great city.
Yeah, no arguments with that. By the way, just a couple of results, just to interject there. Hong Kong defeats Italy. That's a big, big result I can give you. Ukraine over China, the 2009 World Champions from Rome. Panama defeats the Dominican Republic. Austria have wiped the floor with Poland. That's Reitbauer, Holzinger, Daniger and Mühlbach. Keep an eye on them. But anyway, so that's the Australian team. You're 3-0 now. This is obviously going out live, and I don't want you to compromise anything moving forward, but can you give us a little insight into Team Unified Standard and where you feel the sort of decks are likely to sit? What can we expect to see in Team Unified?
Well, yeah, you can never have 3 decks with 3 colours without some sort of overlap. I guess you can start with one tricolour and sort of fit things around. So I guess there's a few good black, green, white decks which you could pair with, say, blue, white, red, and Gruul aggro. They've been pretty prominent recently, so that's a pretty strong combination. I guess you could start with a Jund 3-coloured, and then that would leave, say, a Bant sort of hexproof sort of deck, and then maybe a black-white Aristocrats or something. Then there's like Naya. You can start with Naya and go with Esper and just sort of fill it in like that.
Sure. So there are plenty of options out there. It's not really a case of, well, everyone needs to play this one deck, and that pretty much demands that there are only a couple of options from there. You feel like there's a very diverse field out there.
And then there's all these options to overlap a little bit, or maybe there's some monocolor decks which people will bring.
Yeah, well, obviously monocolor would help out a lot with dividing up the cards for sure. Have you talked as a team about what's required to make day 2? Have you sort of looked into this idea of the 71, top 32, the tie breaks, meaning winning early and often really gets you there? Do you feel you're now 1 win away from day 2?
Yeah, we just take it as it comes. I suppose, you know, we couldn't plan for this start, but being in this situation does set us up well for the next section. So, but we're not going to just stop at 4 wins.
Well, no, because as we know, tomorrow seeding really, really matters. If you can be the top seed, it's at least 1 round difference. If you are the top seed and you go 2-1 in your pod of 3 matches, you are guaranteed to advance, and that is such a huge deal because 1 round can just go by so quick.
Yeah.
All right. 2 last things. One, I'm delighted to say, which is congratulations on the shirts. You only see 1 here, but the 4 of them, my lord, they look smart and sharp and well done.
That was Riley's brother. He saw them at the airport, I think. That was a pretty good buy.
No complaints at all, and I'm delighted to say that. I'm less delighted to say, well done, Australia. Day 1 of the 3rd test, 303 for 3. Yes, very good. Yes, normal service resumed. You can go now. That is just into the national captain of Team Australia. They're 3-0 coming into the second part of our week here in Worlds Week. Thanks very much to Justin. Let me go through some more results then for you. As I say, Mexico are up at the top of the standings. They have got to 3-0. Japan over Northern Ireland. Malaysia defeat Wales. Spain over Lithuania. Now, what else have I got here? I told you about Mexico, El Salvador. The Finns. Now, I thought Finland had a pretty decent shot at doing well here. That Sami Häggkvist is on that team. And just a pretty strong squad right the way across the board. But they have not done terribly well. They lost in this round to Thailand. Ceslik Champling, the national champion for them. Puerto Rico over Costa Rica 2-0. Ireland defeat Croatia. That's a big one. That is Ireland with Martin Sasinci, David Tweet, I believe, is on that. Not Tweet, but Tuite, T-U-I-T-E. Ireland have gone to 3-0 at the expense of Gerga Petric, Maritic, Tony Portolan and friends. So that's a big one, and congratulations to Ireland. That is comfortably their best start to a team event in Magic history, so well done them. Let's move on. We have Belarus over Bulgaria 2-1, Greece over Indonesia 2-1. The Swiss, Andreas Gantz, they are doing very nicely now as they head on up the standings. They have defeated Macedonia comfortably, and France, this would have been a real powerhouse matchup. If you go back sort of 5-6 years, France against the Netherlands, what a matchup that would have been in the days of Frank Karsten and Jelge Wiegersma and Camille Cornelissen, but not this time. France defeat the Netherlands comfortably. That's the team led by Rafael Levy, of course, the Hall of Famer. Now, this is an extraordinary story developing. In the Battle of Scandinavia, Denmark have defeated Sweden by 2-1. Sweden, I couldn't imagine the top 8 without them. I couldn't imagine the final without them. I'm about to have to imagine both, because Sweden, Olorada, the Hall of Famer, Joe Larson, runner-up to Tom Martell at Pro Tour Gatecrash, Elias Watzfeld with multiple Grand Prix top 8s, terrific player, and Joachim Alberg, they are 0-3, and they are the big casualties of day 1 here at the World Magic Cup. It's not over for sure, but at 0-3, boy oh boy, are the Swedes in trouble. Massive story there. So, it's lunchtime. The players are having a bit of a cool down, because I'm not going to lie, it's quite warm in here. It really, really is. So they're going to have a bit of relax. They're going to sort out their Team Unified standard decks. And here's what we're going to bring you over the next half hour or so. We've got 3 great segments lined up. And the first is because we have another guest sitting along beside me, and it is a great pleasure to welcome from Wizards of the Coast, Hélène Bergeau. Hélène is the Director of Organised Play and Trade Marketing, which is quite a long title, it turns out. But basically, OP, Organised Play, that means you're involved in things like this.
And I like it.
Yeah, well, I'm not surprised. I mean, what a fantastic venue. And this is an event that's just so wonderful for players, particularly from countries that don't necessarily have a lot of opportunities to travel. We've just had the Australian champion on, and you must be thrilled with what a great setup we've had here and how Worlds Week is going.
It's probably my best, you know, my preferred event, looking at all the players coming from 71 countries. Can you imagine 71 countries are being represented here today? That's really what magic is about. Just like bringing together people from so many countries and sharing the same passion. I love this tournament.
Yeah, it's absolutely crazy, and they make such an effort as well. You see all these teams in their shirts, their hats, their scarves, their badges, whatever it is. They really, really care. Now, of course, if you want to be part of this, well, you need to win a World Magic Cup qualifier. But if you want to compete for yourself, well, that's about a Pro Tour qualifier. Now, I remember sitting at a desk just like this one with you a while back when we were talking about the fact that the world of PTQs was going to expand because Magic's expanding. And I think the number you had was like something like 800?
Yes, absolutely. When we were looking at how Magic has been growing recently, we were thinking it's the right time just like to add a fourth Pro Tour, as it will give more opportunities for people to qualify, since it gives us the opportunity to increase the number of PTQ, currently from something like 639 to 800 next year.
800. I tell you what, why don't we get our map of the world up and we'll see where all these PTQs are going and see what ones are coming to near you. So there is our representative of the world. North America 372, Latin America 52, Europe 264, Japan 44, and APAC 68. That brings you to 800. Now the thing is, North America, you can see on that map, North America turns out to be pretty big all in all, so maybe they're not all just a bus ride away from you, or if they are, they're a Greyhound bus across, you know, multiple states. So why don't we go bring things down a little narrower and take a look at where some of the regional PTQs are happening. So North America, there you see it. Very excited to land to see a couple of PTQs in Puerto Rico. That's great. 39 in Canada. And remember, this is across the year. This is the whole year, 2014, across your 12 months. You can plan. Puerto Rico, you've got 2 PTQs coming next year. And Ellen, I know you were saying to me earlier that part of the goal of all this is to regularly get PTQs to those smaller markets.
Absolutely, because we want to make sure that we keep that accessibility to the Pro Tour. We see, you know, in this type of event as this weekend, how much players want to participate in a Premier Play Magic. So the PTQ is the best way to get access to that Premier scene. And you know, we wanted to make sure that we could have a good allocation of PTQs, so that even if players being in smaller communities, so in smaller countries, could have access to PTQs on a regular basis. So if you look at just like the breakdown of the PTQs, I think 800 PTQs per year mean 200 per season. So technically it means that we have a little bit less per season that we currently have. And this is why today, for us, it's important to give to all players the visibility about, you know, how many PTQs we'll get throughout the whole year, that we can have that, you know, that perspective.
Yeah, and that's great because let's be honest, when you have one PTQ a year, you want to make sure that you're not on a school trip that weekend.
Absolutely.
Okay, so that was North America. Let's take a look now for you at Latin America, and this is going to get to be a very, very big list. We begin with Brazil at 19, Mexico 11, Argentina 4, Chile have 4, of course, that's the home of the Rookie of the Year, Felipe Tapia Becerra. Colombia, they've got 2 brothers on their team this year, 2 there. Venezuela, they are 3-0 right now. Peru have 2, and then 1 each, Bolivia, Costa Rica, Guatemala, El Salvador, the Dominican Republic, Panama, home of Saul Alvarado, Ecuador, and Uruguay. And what I love, Ellen, about that is that for all those places where there is one, it is going to be such a national celebration for that community.
And that's what we are looking forward to, because just like we want to make sure that we give that opportunity for players just like to get prepared, to test with their friends, and just like to get their slot to the next Pro Tour.
So that's your Latin America for 2014. Let's move on. I recognise a little bit of
I think it's Europe.
That looks suspiciously like Europe to me. It is. So let's add up. You see Italy top of the pile, France 35, Spain 29, and then England, Scotland, Wales 25, so that's just more than 6 a season. Germany 23, then you've got the Russian Federation with 11, and then it works its way down. The Netherlands, the Czech Republic, Poland, and as you start going down that second column, you get those small communities, a lot of who we see here. We saw Steve Hatto with Luxembourg, Iceland are there, the Slovak Republic, even Flock, Northern Ireland, Ukraine, and so on, and Cyprus. And for example, I can certainly talk about Cyprus as a community where having a PTQ is such a big deal to them because they travel to all the European GPs together. They have a tiny, tiny community, but they send almost everyone on trips to GPs, and it's great for that. And another community I know that you know a bit about, Hélène, is the Luxembourg MTG community. Tell us a bit about them.
Oh, that's a very, very nice story, which is a lot about what Magic means for a lot of players. It's more than a game; it's about community. And last year, for the World Magic Cup qualifiers, Luxembourg was struggling to get the 8 players participating in each World Magic Cup qualifier. So they were really worried. Say, where is Luxembourg going in terms of Premier play and competitive Magic? And so Steve, you were just talking about him, so the current national champion for Luxembourg, contacted us saying, I really want to make sure that I'm promoting competitive Magic in Luxembourg. What can I be doing? Because I think that it would be good to have access to a PTQ in Luxembourg. And then I was saying, Steve, the first step is to make sure that there is a store who can run your PTQ, so who has the criteria for running the PTQ. And then he looked at what it means and just started engaging with the local store, with the local community, starting running more events. He rallied the whole community. We managed to reach that level. And then we looked at Luxembourg, say, hey, you have a store which is eligible for PTQ. And on top of that, Luxembourg is a very, very good location because it's accessible for, from a number of players from Belgium, from France. So it's not, it goes beyond the community. And they managed to just get all that achieved within about 6 months. They ran their first PTQ recently. It was a good success, and so say, we want to make sure that you have that opportunity again. Because if you look at the breakdown of the PTQ slots in Europe, of course, Italy, which is the largest community in Europe, gets the largest number, the highest number of spots. But we want to make sure that, as you were saying, all the players living in these smaller markets do have that experience, do have that opportunity.
Yeah, and it's a fantastic reward for them because I say the Lithuanians, they go see Steve Haddow at all the European GPs, and if you are part of a small community and you think, oh, it's kind of passing us by and there's not quite enough of us, it doesn't take many to start some momentum and become, rather than a group of friends, suddenly you become a community. Once you become a community, all kinds of great things can happen. So well done, Luxembourg, and all those small things.
And I just would like to also add something, a shout out to England, Scotland, your country, because we have seen so many good things also on the island. I'm very, very happy to see that now we can give just 25 PTQs for the whole territory.
Yeah,
it's such an achievement also.
It's a lot. It's a growing community, a lot of great guys and girls. We've got Carrie Oliver on the team for England. Phil Brett is part of the Wales team here. And Scotland, Stephen Murray and Brad Barkley, 2 of their finest players ever, first and third lifetime. But we move on with our PTQs. Where in the world is this? That looks a bit like Australia down there. Now, what exactly is APAC, Hélène?
Oh, yeah, we love acronyms. It stands for Australia Pacific.
Okay, right.
Asia Pacific.
Yeah, Asia Pacific. So we're down the bottom end, down under.
Asia Pacific. So this is where you have, you see it's very straightforward. And that's just the responsibility of our APAC office. Yeah.
Okay, so 24 up at the top there for China, and that's a real growth in the game, because we were astonished, let's not lie here, we were astonished when China became Team World Champions in Rome in 2009. One of them, by the way, Bo Lee, is back again as their national champion here this time around, and they're doing okay at the moment. I believe they have, they lost their last round, in fact, to Ukraine, Mike Krasnitsky and co. So that's APAC, and where does that take us now? I think we're almost out of World, we are. So now let's take a look at the PTQ seasons. Now, to my mind, the most exciting thing there is that there are 4 seasons, Hélène, and that means 4 Pro Tours. Brilliant stuff. So let's look, Season 1, Journey into Nyx. Now that's part of Theros block, the back end of Theros, is that right? So we have Standard there. That'll take you through the back end of 2013 up to March, culminating in the fabulous city of Atlanta, Georgia, home of Coca-Cola and CNN, amongst others. Season 2, that'll be Magic 2015. Wow, that seems a long way off. We just started M14.
Yeah, but we have to plan.
Yeah, okay. Sealed Deck will be that format. March the 15th to June the 1st, and that will end up in Portland, Oregon. Again, in the United States, over about a couple of hours from Seattle, Portland.
Yeah, it's very, very close, short ride from Seattle.
Yeah.
We love Portland.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll see plenty of R&D people at that one. And now, Huey and Dewey, if you're not used to quite what that means, well, basically, these are code names for sets that have not yet been released. So they can't give you the official names. You know them, though, don't you? Yeah, possibly. She's like blood out of a stone, this lady, I tell you.
Most of the time I prefer just like not to know about them so that I don't talk about it.
Yeah, I walk around the office kind of shielding my eyes from things I'm not meant to know about, for sure. But Huey, which is the start of the next block, you see the PTQ season will be June 7 to August 24. You want to clear your decks for that, because look where you get to go to. You get to go to Honolulu, Hawaii. It is a glory. Let's be honest, it's the pinnacle of the Pro Tour location.
Well, we have been to Hawaii a couple of times, but players tell us over and over that they love going back there. So say, okay, we're going to bring the Pro Tour there.
And I think also, one of the things about Honolulu is it is a prime location to say to friends and family, hey, you know that game where I go to the mall and I play, and that little comic shop that I play on Friday nights? Well, this is a little bit different to that. This is Waikiki Beach.
Yeah, I'm going to Hawaii.
Do you want to come with me to Hawaii? You know, to a wife, a girlfriend, a husband, a partner, sons, daughters, mums, fathers. You get so many extra people at the Honolulu PTs. It's a great, great atmosphere as well. So if you can get to those PTQs, you really should. Finally, finishing off, Huey Dewey is the season 4 for 2014. That's August the 30th to November the 30th. Now, Ellen, there's a TBA I have written in front of me to be announced. So that's the final Pro Tour city. So, well, if it's to be announced, off you go, announce it.
Nice try. You will have to wait, I'm sorry.
I give up. I give up. Listen, Hélène, thank you so much for being with us. It's Director of Organised Play and Trade Marketing at Wizards, Hélène Bergeau. Fantastic to have her with us here at the home of Magic the Gathering and the home of Worlds Week. We are on day 3. We are halfway through day 3 with 3 rounds done, 4 to go. And yeah, I know that's really 3/7, but it's 2 formats and we're halfway through those. The players are currently on their lunch break. They have put their M14 cards away. They will decide later who gets the Colonian Tuskers and the big sort of primeval bounties and how they divide up their rares. I think that's the least of their concerns, to be honest. And they are preparing for Team Unified Standard. Team Unified what now? I think we should have someone else at the desk to explain it far, far better than I can. It is great to welcome from the text coverage team and more generally from the Magic the Gathering Hall of Fame from this here country, the Netherlands, Mr. Frank Karsten. Frank, how are you doing?
Decent. It's pretty hot, but I'm surviving.
You're surviving?
It's my microphone.
Oh, okay. Let's just put that back on there for Frank. Frank, you may know, is a phenomenal analyst of the game. In particular, he's responsible for things like the average fairies list. He's responsible for the Decapedia that used to run on Daily MTG, which was absolutely required viewing. If you wanted to know anything about any format, pretty much, Frank was, and kind of is, your man. So, Frank, the obvious, let's do the really simple stuff first, because I know it's going to get complicated in a minute.
Yep.
Unified, Team, Standard. What do those 3 words mean when you put them together?
Well, it means that teams of 3 are going to play 3 separate one-on-one standard matches, but there is one important catch. There's a team-wide deck construction restriction, which means that you cannot play of a given card more than 4 copies between your combined decks and sideboards.
Okay.
Except for basic lands. But any other card, there's 4, and you cannot add more to your team's decks.
So if you stack the 3 decks one on top of the other and have the sideboards right there, 45 card sideboard, if there is more than 4 of any one card in that great big pile and that tiny little pile, you're done.
Yep.
That's outside the rules and that's not allowed.
Exactly.
Okay, that's pretty straightforward. So that sounds incredibly complicated. For anyone who has done just trying to choose a deck for a standard tournament, and there are so many out there, the idea that as soon as you pick one, suddenly you sort of can't pick some of the others. Right. Tell us about the challenges.
I mean, it really is a big, like huge challenge as a deck construction puzzle. The best way to explain this maybe via an example. Suppose that you would want to play Giant, Flash, and Reanimator, 3 popular standard archetypes.
Okay.
Different archetypes in different colors.
Sure.
But still, those decks sometimes play the same cards.
Oh, okay. Let's see if we can take a look at cards that overlap in those cards. So up on the big wall, there you see, we've got 4 cards there. Talk us through these.
Well, Track Tusk is a card that is included both in Junt as well as in Reanimator. Restoration Angel is used by both Reanimator and by Blue White Red Flash to blink the creatures. Overgrown Tomb is in a mana base of both Junt and Reanimator. And Pillar of Flame is used by both Junt as well as Blue White Red Flash to remove Voice of Resurgence. And if you put all of that together, well, it's almost impossible to play those 3 decks next to each other, because what are you going to do? You don't want a Junt deck with just 2 Track Tusk.
Okay, let me ask one, and I appreciate at home, this is going to sound like a very simple question, but you've got an Overgrown Tomb up there. Well, if you had 4 Overgrown Tomb, what's the big deal about playing 2 Swamps and 2 Forests?
Mana consistency.
Right.
The lands are kind of the unsung heroes in Standard.
Okay.
They allow you to be able to consistently cast all of your cards. Without the lands, you would almost certainly not be able to play, especially all your gold-colored spells on time. And the mana base is really important. So actually, if we want to go to what the teams here are playing, because I took a look at most of the list, talked to most of the teams.
Yep.
The most important card that team said was the crucial element of Team Unified Standard is land. It's Stomping Ground.
Wow, Stomping Ground.
Yeah, team said you can only play 1 Stomping Ground deck.
Okay, right.
Well, it doesn't do much, but you do want to be able to cast your spells.
Right, so it really does show that land is, and the color requirements are absolutely underpinning everything you're telling us about.
Yes, definitely.
Okay, so if Stomping Ground is the most important card, take us a bit further for why it's the most important card.
Well, 2 of the main decks in Standard right now play Stomping Ground, and that led to the main divide between the teams. The first one is Junt, one of the
so
most...
that's black, red, green. Let's take a look at some Junt cards up on the wall.
Basically plays the best cards in Standard: Olivia Voldaren, Track Tusk, Bonfire of the Damned, and so on. Also did well at the Players' Championship. 5 of the 16 players played it. The other red-green base deck is Gruul. Now, Gruul is the deck that Brian Kibler played. It featured cards like...
so this is red-green aggro, right? You would say it if you like.
Yeah.
Let's see if we can take a look at that.
Should be on the next slide.
There we are, red-green.
Features cards like Domri Raid to generate card advantage, Elvish Mystic to ramp into Thundermaw Hellkite. It's kind of a different deck than Junt, but they both share Stomping Ground, and teams had to choose one or the other. So if you look at how Team Unified Standard shapes up, pretty much all teams have either Junt or red-green as their first deck. For their second deck, almost every single team is playing Flash. Usually Blue, White, Red Flash was well, basically the deck that most of the competitors at the World Championship played. Very difficult to play against. All these instant cards, so you never know what to play around.
I love those 3 cards so much.
Yep.
Oh.
Yep. So pretty much every team is playing some kind of well, blue-white Flash. Sometimes with red, sometimes without, but that's basically deck 2. And then for the third deck that I looked at, there are several options. It depends on what your first deck is. If you went with Junt and Flash, then you can go into all kinds of directions. The first would be to go with Mono Red, headlined by Burning Earth. The other would be Mono White, to go with Brave the Element. So there you see monocolor decks just to fill out the decks.
Okay.
So it's just to whatever fits in for the last slot. Invisible Stalker to go with Hexproof, or Creator of Behemoth to go with basically mono green, ramp into big stuff. So that's often the third deck. If you go with Junt and Flash. Now, if you chose red-green as your first deck, which less teams did, but still a reasonable amount, then almost certainly you would pair it with Aristocrats, usually of the variety with green, with Voice of Resurgence, but getting the sacrifice synergies, and that's a deck that doesn't have overlap with red-green and blue-white Flash.
Okay, interesting to see Lingering Souls up there. That's a card that readily identified with Tom Martell. One of the strangest sights yesterday was in the feature match area, watching Tom Martell playing against any number of Lingering Souls tokens on the other side of the board when he had access to none. It was a very, very strange one. I just think, surely, you know, Lingering Souls is legal. You have to play that if you're Tom Martell. It's like they go together, peaches and cream, but not yesterday. So Lingering Souls there with Tragic Slip, Cartel, Aristocrat, your third deck to pair with red, green and Flash. Okay, where do we go from there?
So basically almost all competitors are on, well, either Junt, Flash with some other deck, or red, green, Flash and Aristocrats.
Yep.
But still there are still some offbeat choices.
Okay.
One that I was hoping some of the teams would show up with is the offbeat choice of going with 3 identical Shadowborn Apostle decks. Unfortunately, I haven't seen a team doing this. I haven't seen all the deck lists, so I still have some hope, but probably not.
Okay, now I don't expect you to break the format right here live at the news desk, but how would such a deck theoretically work?
Well, it allows you to get around the max 4 card restriction.
Yeah. What does the deck actually do for you? Like, how many Shadowborn Apostle are going to go in this hypothetical series of decks?
Like 35 to 40. You just play a bunch of those.
Yeah.
A couple demons to fetch, as well as, like, say, 20 swamps. And
Okay.
that would be a deck, and I was hoping some teams would show up with 3 copies of that deck just for the style points. But it's probably not very good, and I understand why. I haven't seen it yet.
Okay, now what about some other offbeat cards and strategies that perhaps we might see a little bit more of, because that does sound pretty way out there, to be fair.
Yeah, I saw at least 2 teams going with rapid hybridization to pair it with Young Wolf to get basically a 2/2 and a 3/3 for the low cost of 2 mana in total. So some teams have taken all these overlap problems and gotten into an interesting deck choice to fit in. And a last one is, well, basically we've seen some standard innovation with interesting cards. At least one team that is being led by a Hall of Famer is playing Druid's Familiar, which hasn't really seen much play in Standard, but they're playing some kind of mono green deck, which they liked quite a bit, but mainly playing because, well, it fitted in with the other two decks that they had in mind. And they're running this card as basically an extra Wolfir Silverheart. It's just to illustrate that there is still some standard innovation going on even with all these restrictions. And this format can also yield some interesting puzzles and challenges.
Might.
Yeah, so here's...
What's that doing then? Okay, that is a puzzle. I didn't expect to see that up here.
So this morning, one player approached me with the question, "Hey Frank, do you have some cards with you? I need 2 Smite for my sideboard." Well, unfortunately, I didn't have them with me.
You don't naturally carry Smite around in your pocket just in case?
Nope. But I know that eventually Jan van der Vecht, Diesel, popular streamer, took a 2-hour train ride back to his home to pick these up for him and then come back over here. So he eventually got them. But the fun thing was that he asked, "Okay, Frank, you know I need Smite for my sideboard. Do you now know which 3 decks our team is playing?"
Go on then, give me the answer.
Well, Smite is in the sideboard of usually Junk Aristocrats.
Yep.
And then the other 2 decks must be Flash and the red-green. So with just one card, you can figure out everything in this format. It's crazy, it's an amazing puzzle, and a lot of fun.
Wow. Frank Carson, thanks so much for taking us through the world of Team Unified Standard. That is where we are about to go because the players are ready for round 4. Big match coming up. Stanislav Sivka is the Czech national champion. He was in the World Championship the first couple of days here at Worlds Week. Josh Utter-Layton, the US national champion. He's back on Sunday. He's trying to climb the Everest of them all. And I can tell you that it is USA against the Czech Republic that kicks off our standard coverage of unified teams here at the World Magic Cup. So let's get down to the booth. It's time for round 4 of the World Magic Cup 2013.